Yo, what's up guys? It's me, Juan Pablo from 100% Finance at 100%finance.com. Mr. Cash Flow, Mr. Passive Income, the people's mentor. I got what you need to succeed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate your viewership. Topic of discussion for today is Property Management 101. So this is for those people who are interested in learning more about managing their own properties and not necessarily outsourcing it to a property management company. If you're following the 100% finance way, which means you're getting an income producing asset around a property with little to none of your own money required, that's what 100% finance is all about, then you want to save on expenses by doing property management yourself. Because if you're financing this income producing asset 100%, it leaves very little room for error, for one, in regard to doing a deal analysis and fact finding, due diligence period. And if you're unfamiliar with these terms, just check out my other videos or check the links below to learn more so we can give you some information to help you get that understanding. But it leaves little room for error, plus you have to kind of cut back on certain expenses until you get a number of units. Like for me, for example, and now if this doesn't make sense, I'll try to explain my best if you're a newbie, right, getting started. When I first got started, I thought it was wise to hire a property management company. But then I realized it's just like going to a mechanic, right? You go there for oil change, and you're like, well, you also need your water pump change, your air filter change, your radiator need flush. You're like, damn, I got all this stuff I gotta do. It's because you just don't know. And some people might take advantage. Property managers, they might nickel and dime you. You know, charge you an exorbitant amount of fees because you know little to nothing about the game. And that's what I did. So I fired my own property management companies and decided to manage my own properties myself. And guess what? Out of state. So that adds another degree of difficulty. And I have my own property management company as a result of that experience. And you can do it as well. Okay? So you're listening to a guy talk about how he successfully manages his own portfolio out of state and then started his own property management company and had people employed. Okay, so I'm just the owner now and not the person who does the day-to-day operations. You got it? Cool. So I recommend you to follow that process. Manage your own units in the beginning for a short period of time until it becomes too cumbersome and you realize, hey, I could better spend my time doing more deals or another business than managing my own portfolio. So in my situation, I managed my first 30 rental units by myself while I had a 9-to-5. 30 units. And then after I quit my job and started this YouTube channel, 100% Finance, and the company, then I moved forward with hiring someone to do the day-to-day operations or outsourcing the property management. And I recommend you to do the same. All right, so enough with all that preliminary stuff. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of Property Management 101. Assuming you're managing your properties yourself in the beginning, make sure when you are looking for a tenant that you have the correct lease in place. As I stated in another videos, you probably heard my story about how I just found the lease online, just said, oh, this looks good. And then when I had to evict the tenant, the judge had to stop from laughing. He said, this is ridiculous. This is not a legitimate document. Where'd you find this? And I felt embarrassed to tell him, but I actually found it on the internet. Yeah, excuse me guys, I'm driving while I'm doing this. Just trying to kill multiple birds with one stone. Because some people be hating, why are you doing videos? Why you always driving? Because I feel like it. I'm maximizing my time, so don't hate. Are you getting good content? Huh? Then stop complaining and just watch. You gotta put up with it, all right? I do what I can when I can. All right, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't work for you. No, I'm just kidding. Y'all like, dang, he being all ignorant. He being all arrogant too. Why he getting all explosive? I don't like that. Well, anyway, so back to the discussion at hand. You want to have the correct leases. Have an attorney review it, and that's the first step. Having a lease that protects you. And then when you have that lease, you need to find tenants, right? Sorry, I normally use Craigslist or some other type of free advertising. You know, there's a minimized cost to attract a tenant. And I will put Section 8 is okay. And when you have a tenant, you need to do showings. I say at least 2 showings a week. and do group showings. Not no one-on-one showings, but group showings. One weeknight, for example, Tuesday night, and one Saturday morning, something along those lines. And you only just show it at that time, because your time is valuable. You know, like what I'm doing right now. You gotta schedule it when you can. And that's what I'll do, and I do group showings. So that way they'll be fighting over the unit. They realize, ooh, other people are interested. You know what? Since there was 6 people here, you know what? I'm gonna move forward. And I always get the security deposit. Money talks. Don't ever take the property out the market until someone who's interested gives you a security deposit. And then you want to do a background check on these individuals. There's 4 ways to do that. 1 is a criminal credit check. 2 is, and it's a recommended service I use. You just have to get part of the coaching and learn more of that. So criminal background check, credit check. And you also want to do a landlord check. You also want to do employment check. And you also want to do, well, yeah, that's it. That's it for. I just thought about it. Credit, criminal, employment, landlord. And there's certain questions and ways of going about it, but that's just in our ebooks and so forth. Just check the link below to learn more. I'm just giving you a general synopsis of what to do, not the intricate details, because that's what the coaching program is for. Okay, I'm just giving you just a overview. So that's what you do then. Get adequate leases, do showings, collect the security deposit, do the background checks and so forth. You're checking these people out. And then once you find a person who provided a security deposit and they clear, then you want to say, hey, I need the first month's rent and I'll take the property off the market. You do that, and then let's say you have the tenant move in. And you want to make sure you walk over every aspect of the lease with the tenant. Line by line. Don't just say, hey, sign here, and just expect them to know everything in the lease, because most people ain't going to read all that. It's just too much jargon. But you want to highlight the most important things. Hey, don't change the locks. If you change the locks without notifying me, that's going to be a problem. Hey, you got to put the utilities in your name 3 days before you moving in. If not, that's going to be a problem. Hey, don't add no other adults into this property without running past me. That's going to be a problem, and so forth. And let's say, you know, still on property management 101, let's say the tenant happens to move in. You always want to have this mindset. You always want to be professional. So if a tenant's late on the rent, don't be emotional. Don't be banging down their doors or feeling hurt and upset about it and you want to curse them out. No, don't do that. Let the court handle it. You're a business person. You don't need to be emotionally involved. I understand it might be your first property and your first tenant or so. You might be hurt because you let this person move in, they treat you wrong. That's business, baby. Don't you understand that there's big companies out there and they know that customers steal from them as well as their employees? Don't you also know that customers break their inventory and employees do that as well? You know, maybe by accident, but it happens, right? The same thing happens with you as an entrepreneur. Tenants may break your stuff either accidentally or spitefully, and they may not pay the rent. That's just a part of doing business. So if you understand that going in, you know that, hey, that's just part of the game. I'm not going to be emotionally involved and act out of character. I'm going to act with a degree of professionalism. And that also implies, outside of just, you know, a person not paying your rent or destroying your property, that also applies when being in contact with the tenant. You don't want to be going over there for Thanksgiving dinner, giving them hugs and kisses, kissing the baby, say, hey, what's up, what's going on? No. Your job is not to be a friend, but to be the property owner. So that's what I mean by professionalism, okay, not friendship. There is a difference. And that's how you got to be as a real estate investor who manages his or her own properties, okay? So there's a lot of things that go into property management 101 in which it is predicated upon how you treat it. As the owner and as the property manager, you have to set the precedence. You have to tell them as well how to communicate with you. Hey, my best mode of communication is via phone call. I prefer not to use text with tenants because it adds another degree of being personal. And I like to keep it professional. Just shoot me a call. My office hours are between 9 and 5. If I don't answer your call, I'll respond within 24 to 48 hours. But if it's an emergency, do this. If it's a repair request, I want you to set it up this way. You gotta outline everything up front. And you do this with the leases, okay? And many people don't do that, right? Because they're just getting started in business, they're getting started in real estate investing, and they just don't have those business skills yet. They say, oh, I got a deal, yes, but it's not over. You still have to manage the unit. We focus so much on asset acquisitions, right? As entrepreneurs, real estate investors, business people, which is great. You want to grow your portfolio, right? You want more units so you can quit your 9 to 5. Say goodbye to 9 to 5, and I have a book, Quit Your 9 to 5. Quit your day job. A real estate blueprint to replace your paycheck with passive income. Just check the links below for more information. And it gives you a step-by-step process of doing all that asset acquisition. But once you've acquired an asset, how do you manage it and manage it effectively so that you don't get burned by tenants? And at the end of the day, if you do get burned, it's your responsibility. So you have to, quote unquote, man up and take ownership. You must, okay? So if you guys are interested in more property management tips and so forth, just check the links below. One of my total ebook packages, I have a whole chapter on property management. Like step 1, you should do this. Step 2, as I mentioned, it outlines the specifics, like what I use for credit check and background check for cheap, and who pays for it is the owner and the tenant, and how do you kind of finesse that, you know, if the tenant is responsible for it. And also, what are the 5 steps that I use to screen a tenant's tenancy with the current landlord and employment and all that good stuff. What documents I need the tenant to present to make sure it's credible. And the key thing is credible, because you know nowadays people can Photoshop and they can doctor up documents and make fake pay stubs and all that. So you got to find a way of how you can fact check that stuff to make sure it's legit. Okay, so have all that stuff in there. Alright, so hopefully this was beneficial to you guys. If you currently have a property or 2 or several units and you're managing it yourself, you got to make sure you do it right. And make sure you manage the units to the point it replaces your paycheck, and then you can consider outsourcing property management. And I've outsourced it to someone else so that they can manage the units exactly how I want them to be managed. Okay? Alright guys, so this is to your success. Continue to earn passively, live passionately, take care, peace.